Hey all, welcome back to another Factorio tutorial. This is one of my favorite games, Factorio. I just love the uh, construction, I like the industry and all the factories, but most of all I like the trains. And this is a map I've been playing for a while, since 2016 actually, and it's turned into a kind of mega base. And I get several visitors, and I give them tours of the base now and then when I'm not building. And one of the things they always ask about is this trader train that I have set up. So let me explain what it does, and then I'll show a step-by-step tutorial of how to put it together. So this is a little way station, or what I call a train station, where some of the big trains come and sit when they're not needed. And I have set up a trader station here, an automatic trader, where a train will come from another base, will park here, and trade the items, and if there are the right number of items that I've asked for, then it will give the reward items, because on a big base like this, you get a lot of other players now and then wanting to check it out and to help you build, I guess. So I always thought it would be cool to have a multiplayer map, but with separate bases, so you don't have to build the same base. You could have separate bases on the same map and trade with each other. Well, you can trade with each other right now, but you kind of have to do the loading and the unloading and all of that. So I did it automatically. So what I have is a Great North Road that I built headed north. That was like a racetrack, and it was going to be a road you could drive your cars on, and then it turned into a train road, and now it's like a robot super highway. But it goes really far north, and then it comes to an end because there's a little satellite base here, and this is the base that my son has put together. And he wanted to, build his own base, be independent, have his own power and his own logistics network, and didn't want, to have all the benefits of the super base. And I thought it was a great idea. So he did that, and then he started asking for items. Hey, he needs robots, and he needs nuclear weapons, of course. And I said, well, let's trade. You give me some raw materials, and I'll give you the things that you need. So we set up this trader train automatically. This is it right here. It's at his base. This is his unloading station. So I'm going to send it back to the main base, the trading post at the main base. And it's going to arrive, and I'll show you how it works, and then I'll show you how to put it together. So it's going to travel on this very long road to get back to the main base. So while we're waiting for that, I'm going to show you what you have to do to set it up. So you're going to put down an engine, and you'll need, I use 4 cargo wagons. So what you need to do is you come to a verbal agreement with another player of what you guys want to trade. And then the first 2 cargo wagons are what you are going to provide to them. The second 2 wagons are what they are going to give you in return. So you have to specify the cargo wagon slots. You have to be very specific. So if you want ore from them, then you're going to put it like this. And in case you don't know, that's how you do that, is you hit the middle mouse button here, and then you select the type that you want. And then it will only put that item in that slot and nothing else. And so you want to make sure all your slots are locked in. And then once you have one, you can hit shift and right click to copy, and then shift left click on the empty squares like that. And then suppose you want from them green circuits. So you do that, and you can put your green circuits in there. And then suppose you want, why not low density structures? We always need those. And so this wagon will only hold these 4 items, and it will only hold this amount of items. So you do that for both of the first 2 wagons. These are the items that you want in return. On the last 2 wagons, you're going to put in there what you have agreed that they will provide. The first 2 wagons are what they will provide that they're giving you. The second 2 wagons are what you're giving them. So what they need, usually if you're the main base and they're the satellite base, they need the more advanced items. So maybe, explosive uranium shells if they like that sort of thing. and maybe nuclear weapons, but just one stack, and so on. If you've got empty spots that you just don't want to put, you have to put something in there. So a placeholder. You can use, storage tanks. I usually use cargo wagons because who's ever going to put that in a train accidentally? And that's never going to be on a cargo belt. So you have to fill every square up, every slot up with some kind of item. And these are just placeholders so that nothing else would get in there. And so if you put inserters up against this train, it's only going to load these items. And you do that for both. And you can copy one train to another. You can, of course, hold down Shift and right click, and then hold down Shift and left click, and now this train has the same as that train. That's how you have to set up the train first. Now I have that train set up over here. So this is our trader train. It runs automatically, as you can see. It goes between his base and the trading post, which is the main base. He loads it on his end, and he sends it to me. And when it gets sent to me, I might be a few, miles over here. I'm not going to come back to see that he has all the right things on there. Instead, the system will do it for me. So the system counts all of the required items that they put on, and if they're all there, then it will send it back. So you can see right now the train has loaded up. Because he had filled it with all the required items. It unloaded all the required items, and it counted it to make sure they were all there, and now it loaded his train, and as you can see, it's loading the items that we agreed upon. Some of these, it's not going to put anything in these slots because these are just placeholders. But he wanted accumulators and solar panels and robots and cliff explosives and all these things that they want. So, to put this together, I really need more of these because he wants a ton. I'm going to give him 100. I don't like that he has so many. There. So we'll just leave him with 100 laser turrets. He's my son. So he trades me basic things like ore and gets back these highly advanced items like robots and production module 3s and speed module 3s and everything like that, but that's fine. So once it is full, the train will depart on its own because of these conditions you set on the train itself at the station. It has to sit here for at least 60 seconds, but it also has to have all of these cargoes and at this level. So I'm going to change this because I know I just changed that down to 100 as per the agreement. And when the train finishes filling that with 100, it's going to leave automatically and go back to his base. So there's a few circuits you have to know to set this up. So I talked about identifying the train cargo slots. You have to do that, just like that. And then here, so the filter inserters are important to unload the items they're bringing you. So if I'm going to start over brand new, then I would grab some filter inserters and put them here on both sides of the train. But for now, we'll just show it like this. And because he's got, I have the sample one is stone and then iron ore, then you have to make sure your filter inserter only grabs that particular item out of it. And you're going to want to put these on both sides of the cars or the wagons, especially for the high volume items because you need it to unload quickly. And then you go ahead and you do that for every type of item that you have agreed to trade. So they unload, but you have to specify with a filter inserter because the system is going to count how many they have delivered. If they don't deliver or give you the right amount, it's not going to load the reward items or the return items. So what you want is you want these to unload into these chests. You want to connect all of these chests onto a circuit so you can count how many items have been delivered. Just like that. And you're going to do that for both sides, so they're all on one network. Just like that. And then we can see at a glance how many we have by hovering your cursor that's in those chests. So that's what has been done here. You can see that these chests are all on the green network. The green network, to check that they have loaded the train with all the required items, is all connected to these. So there is a decider combinator for every type of item that you have agreed upon. So for instance, copper plate. I have asked for 500 copper plate, or is it 1,000? It's 1,000 copper plate for this train. They do not get any reward or any return items unless they have all of this fully stacked. So 1,000 copper plate. So right here, this first decider combinator is onto the green network, and it will produce its signal if copper plate is greater than or equal to 1,000. And it will produce, let's signal number 1 at a value of 1. This is important because this is going to count how many items have been delivered. So it's up to him of which items he wants to provide, but he has to provide that we've agreed upon at least 6 of these items fully stocked, and I'll explain. So this one is for the iron plate. There it is, iron plate greater than or equal to 1,000 will produce signal 1 to a value of 1. This one is the third item, which is electronic circuits of 1,000. This one, as you can guess, is the copper ore. This is the stone. This is the iron ore. And then for the second cargo wagon, these items that I've asked for, such as the science kits, which of course everybody wants, and then these are just placeholders. So now I have these 6 items. These decider combinators correspond to that. So here's oil barrels, crude oil barrels, steel, and all the way up to plastic, producing a signal of 1 at the value of 1 if plastic is greater than or equal to 500 in these chests. So it's counting the value in these chests. These don't unload yet. We'll get to that in a minute. You have to hold the items in this chest long enough to fully unload the train into these chests so they can be counted. So these decider combinators will produce a value of 1 if the chests contain the right amount. That means you can have a total of 12 if they had loaded the trains with everything. But I agreed with my son that he can pick and choose what 6 items to provide, and if he has provided 6 of any of these items that are fully stacked, then he will get the reward or get the trade. That's what this one is for. So each one of these decider combinators produces a value of 1. They're all fed into this decider combinator. If circuit number 1 is equal to or greater than 6, it will output signal number 2. So this is how I change the agreements of the trade. If all of a sudden I find he's giving these items really easily and the value is changed, I might change this to 7. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. Now, all I do is change it to 7. Now he has to provide 7 of these types of items, not just 6, to get the reward. I wanted a system that could be easily edited, so when you make an agreement with another player at a different base, you can say, hey, I want, these 6 items, or there's a total of 12 items you could put on the train. You only need to provide 7 of them, but you get to pick which 7 to provide. That's what this decider combinator does. So it produces an output signal of 2. This 2 is this red signal. If that output is 2, then and only then will these inserters load the return trains. They've already loaded them, as you can see. So these are requester chests on both sides of each because you need it to load rapidly. And these are stack filter inserters. But they're connected to the network, not these, just the inserters are connected to this. And they're looking for a signal. You'll notice right here, this stack inserter is only enabled if signal number 2 is equal or greater to 1. this is going to produce signal number 2 at a value of 1 only when there are 7 signal 1s coming in. So all of these stack inserters have the same condition. Signal number 2 greater than or equal to 1. And when that condition is true, all of these stack inserters will begin to work, and they will load the trains with anything in these requester chests, filling up the slots. For instance, there's 50 assembling machine 3s in one stack, and that's it. So when you get to this, I'm requesting 50 in this chest. This stack inserter, when this condition is met, will load 50 onto the train, and only 50. Same is true for the other items here that we've agreed upon that we'd be trading. So that part I felt was fairly easy to figure out and kind of make it load and unload automatically, and to add up all of these signals and to say, well, we want 7 of these items. The real problem comes in that these inserters need a timer. These inserters right here, I should say, these that are on the green network, they need a timer, because when the train unloads that you've received, it's going to unload into these chests. Well, you can't have them taken out of these chests yet, because the system needs to count them. These decider combinators need to count these chests and how many are in these chests. If these were passive provider chests, then the robots would come and take them away before they finished unloading, and you wouldn't get a count. So you have to hold them into this chest for a period of time, enough so that these signals can recognize it and send signal number 2. So these signals, or these inserters, are tied to a network, which is the green signal, the green wire, and they're waiting for a certain condition. This is where my timer comes into play, these water tanks. It's a water timer. You could have used other timers maybe, like a chest, 2 chests that have inserters going in and out of them, but I found this to work a little better. So this is the real key to the system. You have to hold the items in these chests long enough for them to be counted before they're taken out. So all of these inserters have the same condition, that water is greater than or equal to 16,000 on this green network. They all have that. So they all work at the same time, but they don't work until water is greater than or equal to 16,000. And you'll notice right now, the water is 13,000. So if we follow this green signal, you'll see it's tied to this tank at the back of this group. One tank, 13,000. So they all kind of have 13,000 because they've all been equalized. They're equalized by this single pipe going back and forth. Oh, hey, another research. So this single pipe is going back and forth, which will equalize. But as you know, pipes can be slow. So the way this water timer works is these pumps only come on when signal 2 is produced, because 7 of these items are detected in their full quantity. Signal 2 is produced. These inserters begin to load, and these pipes come on. So here you can see the pump condition is signal 2 is greater than or equal to 1. When it detects signal 2, it will load the water from these into here. And these 2 pumps are faster than a single pump. So most of the water will begin to be moved from this group of tanks to this group of tanks. It takes a little while for them to fill up, especially if they're in the back of the row. That's why this tank is part of the timer. When this tank hits, what did I say, 16? Yeah, 16,000. Then these inserters take the items out of the receiving chest and put them into these active provider chests, and then they get distributed throughout the mega base as needed. So that is the basic timer setup, which is a critical part so that the system can count the items as they arrive and make sure they're all there and then load like it did when it first arrived. So let me try it one more time so you can see it working. We're going to load the save that I had previously before the train arrived. Okay, so we're going to watch the train arrive and you'll see the timers work. So it's at the outpost base right now. We're going to, as if the user, he's already filled it with the items, He's got 6 items in here, I think. And he would send the train to the base, just like that. So while we're waiting, I'm going to get some more of these, because I don't think it had enough. It was only requesting 50. You want to make sure that those request the full amount while we're waiting for the train to arrive. But when it arrives, you're going to see these inserters automatically will unload into these chests, but they're going to stay in this chest, this row of the green circuit, long enough to be counted and recognized. When there are 6, I think that's what I have set at, it's 6. When there are 6 items detected with the right quantities, it's 250 iron ore, for example, then this will trigger signal number 2, which will let the return items be loaded. Let's see if we can tell where it's at. Oh, there it is right now. Okay, so it's not loading the return items yet. Well, except he didn't unload some of the items. These were left over from last time, I think. I'm not sure. And those are probably in the inserters. Anyway, so it's unloading the items that he's delivered. This is why you need inserters on both sides. All right, so it's done. It recognized they were all there. Now these items are loading. And the water timer has started because it recognizes signal number 2 coming from here. See that output signal 2? Those inserters have worked. Now the timer has started. So the water tank is slowly filling up. And you can see the water is at 14,000. When it hits 16,000, these items will be moved out of these chests to the active provider chests. This train is waiting for a bit more laser turrets. Right there. And when it hits, there it goes. All the items are there, and now it's going back to his main base. And the last thing to happen are for these items to be put into the network. You don't want that to happen until the train leaves, because, oh, there they go now. You don't want that to happen before the train leaves, because you want to make sure it has time to load all of your return items. And now these will be put back into the network of the main base, and that is an automatic trader train that you can set up with the idea that you could have a multiplayer map with bases at different places and only connected by a rail with no power connection or network connection, but you can still have an automatic train going back and forth, trading items between bases, to make it easier to play some multiplayer and to get some interaction, and have one base focused on a certain kind of production, another base focused on different production, and then the players could trade between each other for items that they need. So I hope you'd enjoyed this walkthrough of a trader train for Factorio. See you next time.